Hi, and welcome back to Cooking Through Cookbooks. This is my third episode where I am cooking through my cookbooks. And this week we are covering a Cuban cookbook because it's Hispanic Heritage Month. And as a proud first generation Cuban American, I really wanted to do a Cuban recipe from one of my many Cuban cookbooks. There's not that many out there, but I do think I own them all. So today we are cooking from A Taste of Old Cuba. And the recipe that I chose is Garlicky Yuca Fritters. Now, I've had many fritters in my lifetime, both homemade and at a restaurant. I've never made them myself. This recipe is also not vegan, so we are attempting to veganize this recipe. I'm using just egg as the egg replacer, and everything else is vegan. We're using yucca, some salt, garlic cloves, and lime. This recipe seems to be pretty straightforward. We're putting everything into a food processor, blending it up into a paste, and then making them into small little bowls and dropping them into the fryer. This calls for 2 eggs separated. 1 egg is to be put into the mixture to create the paste, and the other one is calling for egg whites, so not an entire egg. So for the egg whites, I think I'm going to try to use aquafaba. It calls to beat the egg whites until stiff but not dry. And I've beaten aquafaba before with some cream of tartar to replicate egg whites. I'm going to try that method, and if it doesn't work, then we have some more just egg to use instead. Let's get started on this recipe. It seems like it's pretty straightforward, not a lot of ingredients. I know it's going to taste delicious and I'm very excited, but I really hope that I can master this recipe and it works out with the just eggs so that I can continue to make this and make different varieties of these fritters. I know that these fritters, you can buy them at any Cuban restaurant. Usually it's fish fritters or malanga fritters, pumpkin fritters, make anything into fritters, and that's the best part about it. So let's get into it. Following the instructions, the cooking instructions on the yuca packaging here, we're boiling it with enough water to cover it. Add 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 of lemon juice. Cover and boil for about 30 minutes or until the cassava is tender. So I put enough water here. I think, let's see, I may have put too much. And this is just a pound of frozen yuca that you can find at any supermarket, most likely. In the frozen section, definitely in a Spanish supermarket, you will be able to find this. I'm going to dump some of the water out. And I think that's enough just to cover it, it says. Yeah. I'm gonna wait for this to boil. I'm going to add some salt. Small amount of lemon juice, and wait for it to boil. While the yuca boils, I'm going to go ahead and prep the rest of the ingredients. So we need 2 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lime juice. 2 tablespoons, I highly doubt it, but it doesn't hurt to check. All right, we got 1 tablespoon. Oh snap! Perfect, 2 tablespoons. Next up is the garlic. So I'm a little concerned about the author's measurements here. This is supposed to be Garlicky Yuca Fritters, and it only calls for 2 small garlic cloves. If you are dubbing anything garlicky, I will rightfully assume that there's going to be more than 2 small garlic cloves. I would say about 3 to 4. I'm going to use 3 to stay safe. And I will taste the paste once it's ready, and if I feel like it needs more, then I'll just throw another garlic clove or 2 in there. I think I may add a little bit of garlic powder as well to really accentuate the garlic taste. But 2 garlic cloves for a garlicky fritter, I don't think so. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of aquafaba. And just egg, we need 1 egg. Let's see, I think if I'm not mistaken, they say 3 tablespoons for 1 egg. So my estimates were correct. It says on their website that about 3 to 4 tablespoons of just egg will be an equivalent of 1 chicken egg. This looks chunky. Why? 1, 2, and 3. That was really happy about the way it tastes. So I'm going to put a buttload of salt. Doesn't taste garlicky at all, and I think that's exactly what I was saying about, like, there's not that much garlic that it calls for this recipe. So I'm going to put garlic powder, and I'm gonna mix that up and try that again and see if the flavor is better. Now it's time to fry them. I have some vegetable oil heating up right now. We are waiting until it gets to 375 degrees. Put maybe like 1 or 2 at the same time. I also don't want to overwhelm. All right, so 2 in here seems good. I'm going to repeat the process until I've made the entire dough. And that's it, they're done. They look freaking incredible. I already had one to taste it, so freaking good. I'm going to try another one. This one's still very hot. I did notice that the insides were coming out, so definitely want to retry making this recipe. They're so good. The sauce that I made is just a little salsa rosada sauce, that's what we call it. It's mayo, a splash of vinegar, and ketchup mixed together. These are so freaking good. But as you can see, the insides came out, so I want to tweak some of the ingredients as well. I by mistakenly put the aquafaba in with the egg instead of beating it like an egg white, so that could have been a fault right there. I felt like the paste was a little too pasty and it didn't have a lot of oomph, so I added breadcrumbs. Not enough garlic, so I want to try the recipe again by putting more garlic this time. So good. That brings us to the end of the video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Again, I tried replicating the Garlicky Yuca Fritters from A Taste of Old Cuba. They came out great. I definitely want to make this recipe again with some of my own tweaks and make it my own recipe. And yeah, so as always, follow me on Brie No Cheese at all the outlets. And thank you again for watching. See you next week.